3. Maybe that'll work.
Yeah, it should.
Awesome. Ooh, I like that. Q1 2023. That's what's up.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. It is week 4. 4 question mark? 4? 4? 4. Yeah, that's right. It's like a month in. It's pretty cool. It feels weird that you guys we've been doing this for like a month, but that's pretty dope. We've been collecting a lot of data. As far as like, you guys were collecting kind of the hours you're spending on stuff, collecting or writing out your process and documenting like what those look like. That's adding more context with our data, right? There was another thing I was going to say. We'll talk about this more later. But this week we're going to talk about data and how it like helps you guys add context and make decisions and kind of can tell you a story of what's going on in your business. We're always using data and trying to add context to things, and that's whether we're talking about business stuff or just regular stuff. This is Andy Patel. Everyone say hi, Andy.
Hello.
Yeah. Andy, the last Tech Academy, he taught the entire thing.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. He's stepping in to talk about data with you guys today. Be pretty sweet, pretty good stuff. So definitely bombard him with all of your questions immediately. Just not kidding. We're gonna let him talk about some tools that they use in their company. I'll let him explain all that to you guys as well, like what he does and those kind of things. But yeah, we'll start out with this and then we'll come back and do like what we always do with having some interactive stuff to work on afterwards. So take it away, Andy.
All right. So hello, everyone. This is Andy Patel. I'm a product manager at a company called End-to-End Public Safety. We are known by ARMS, ARMS.com. We have a software for police department. We serve around 500 agencies across US. And my job is to make sure that the software that they use works and they have all the information that they need on their fingertip. We partner with several different vendors. We try to make sure our officers on field are safe and they have the data that they need. We want to make sure that they have enough information on their fingertips so they can make a right decision. They have a lot of things ongoing when they are working. So today, me and Nick were discussing about something, and then it ended up, hey, do you want to chat about data? Today's topic is data. And say, okay, that sounds good. What's the purpose? What's the goal? What are we trying to achieve with data? Collecting data in itself is useless if you're not able to tell a story from your data. So today we are going to go through some of the examples on how we tell a story in our organization internally. And feel free to ask me any questions along the way as we go. There are 2 examples that I wanted to share, and then we can discuss about things more. Okay. I think in one of the sessions, you guys have talked about marketing and website and stuff. Is that correct? How many of you know about Google Analytics? Okay, so to give you more context, Google Analytics is a tool of Google. It's for free. It just gives you a small code that you put it on your website, and then Google will start collecting the data. Who's coming to your website? I mean, are they returning users? Are they new users? What's their demographic? What's their ethnicity? What's their age segment? What are their interests? And you can get all that information from Google Analytics. So we use that to monitor how is our website doing, because having a website means nothing. It's like opening a store, but not marketing, and you don't have any customers coming into your stores. Okay. So you want to know who's coming in, why are they coming in, what's their interest, how can you target them? So here is a report that we send out to our management team in Q1 2023. It talks about audience acquisitions and their behavior. So the audience, when you log in, this is the first thing that you see. It talks about how many users, total users that came to your website. From 12,547 users that came to our website, 11,892 were new users. How many sessions they had. That means if a user came in, how many times they opened the website, how much interaction did they have. So as you can see here, a user came in on an average of 1.16 times to our website. How many page views did we have? Let's say our website is a little bit bigger. But if you had 5 pages, how many pages did they go through? Did each of those pages get views? And then what's the bounce back rate? Bounce back rate is someone came to your website, did nothing, and went away. So ours was 76. This is an important one for our sales and marketing team. So these are the list of cities that we were getting engagement from. So users were coming in on our website, they were clicking, they were going through the website, reading the materials. So that means if there was a marketing effort that we did in that city, are we getting a clicks because of that? Or was there some mailers that we sent out? Was there a trade show that we went in? What's the reason? Why are we seeing this traffic? So we try to figure out where are we getting the traffic from, and why are they jumping up on our list? So we compare it month-to-month basis. Any questions so far? Am I going too fast? Please let me know on my pace of speech. Yes. Yes. It's in the header segment of your website, you just put pixel code. I think it is what they're going by now. Yeah, it's pretty easy to put in, and it's free as well. So demographic. How many users are male versus female? What's their age segment? You can get this information. What could you use this information for? Targeted ads, right? Let's say if you are selling something to teenagers, you want to make sure that you target to them particularly. And this allows you to know what you need to do on your marketing efforts. Don't waste your time and money. Acquisitions, where are we getting the traffic from? Are they just typing in arms.com and coming to our website? Are they using any social media platforms? Let's say we are doing social media marketing. Did they see our ad on Facebook? Did they click on it and they redirected to our website? So we can track all that information through Google Analytics. It could be not only Facebook, it could be LinkedIn or whatever platform you are using. You can have your own custom tags that you can set up there. So this is a very important one that we use to track. That's a user flow. A user comes to our main website, and then where do they go after that? They went to support and downloads. That was the second biggest traffic page that we had, because that's where all of our users can go to contact our support team, then contact us for sales and marketing purposes to know about our company. So they landed on the main page, and then the traffic went to the other pages. So let's say someone did a search for our module that's called case management. They came over there, they did a research, and then they might have ended up on the home page. From there, they might have ended up into about us, and then they contacted us. So you need to know how the users are interacting with your website. You can tell a story, and this is the funnel. I believe that's the term that you guys have been using or will be using a lot. So it allows you to know, are they going through your funnel correctly or not? Any questions so far? Your funnel that you're creating, where you want to have the leads and then they become your customers. Okay. So here is a new one that we found out, like, okay, why are we seeing the traffic on our mobile page? That was a bit odd for us. And then we investigated into it, and then we found out that our marketing team had put in some efforts toward marketing our mobile application and saying, hey, you can work on the mobile side of things, and that's the reason we were seeing the traffic there. So you need to know the data sets. You need to know, okay, we did something in marketing that ended up having a traffic on your website. Yeah. Any questions? Yes.
Something other than your website, so there's a sales page or.
Yes.
That code added.
Not on LinkedIn bio, because on LinkedIn itself gives you those context on how many page views you had.
Some of those type of systems, like on Instagram,
Mhm.
you say click the link in my
Mhm.
bio, it kind of takes you to a page that has
Mhm.
multiple things on it. Can
Yep.
you add code to something like that?
On some of them, I think you should be able to, but I'm not 100% sure about that because it depends on what solution you are using.
Would say probably you can actually do like links, make these like custom links that actually have a little tag at the end. You could link, make each one of those links not just like, here's the link to my Instagram, you just slash a little link in and.
So you can put it where it was a campaign for 2024 spring. And then you can collect all that information through that URL. If there was someone who clicked on it, you'll get campaign 2024 spring LinkedIn. You can get all those 3 tags separately. Okay. All right, that's the use case number 1. Any questions in that?
How often,
No, you can go ahead.
how often do you check and how often like it's important to like how to figure out?
So we oftenly did it once a month. We are getting lazy a little bit, so we haven't done in last 3 months. But primarily our task was, okay, let's check in once a month to see are our sales efforts putting in the right direction? Is our marketing, the efforts that we're putting in, are they going in the right direction or not? Yeah. But again, it depends different because we are not dealing with direct consumer. If you're dealing with direct consumer, you might want to do it on the weekly basis. Okay, so use case number 2. So we have several dev teams, and what we need to do is we need to figure out, are they being productive? The next thing is, if you're putting in efforts in creating a new software or feature, you want to track ROI. Is it really beneficial? Or when are we going to break even on a new feature that we plan to implement or that is in progress? Or if you started working on some feature or a new product, initially you estimated that it's going to take you $200,000. Let's convert that into working hours. Let's say it was 2,000 hours. And then halfway or maybe 25% or 30% work was done, and you figured out that, okay, we are going 30% over budget on this. Do we want to keep going down this path, or do we want to kill the project? So those are some of the decisions that helps us through collecting the data on how many hours they worked on what particular task, what that particular task was associated to, and such. So here is a good example. Here we do this monthly reporting on what each of our team member worked on. We have created few activities and categories on our end to track. So here is an example where we have activities, development activities, where developer is actively writing a code. Testing, that's our QA team trying to put testing hours there. There might be some meetings and stuff that the team members needs to have. We want to track that as well, because what happens if they start doing more meetings, that means they are not being more productive. So you want to control all the variables. Code review and fixes. So code review, we use agile model in our development process. So let's say Nick did something and I'm going to review it. If I did something, he's going to review it. So we want to make sure that we both understood the requirement correctly and we are delivering the right solution. Then design and analysis. If there is something that new thing came up, we want to design and analyze, and that's it. So then we have the issue type. Are you working on a new feature, or is it a bug, or something else? So project types. We have several different project types. The first one that you see, .NET Core migration. That's our technical debt that we are dealing with. So we categorize each thing, and we know exactly how much effort we have put towards that. Yes.
I know what that means, but I would say
So yes, thank you. Let's say you created an Android application or iOS application on iOS 10. The latest version is iOS 18. So now Apple will soon say, we're going to discontinue any application that are working on iOS 10. At that point, you have only one option, or two. One, shut down the business. And the second one is, let's migrate to the latest platform that they have. So that term in itself is called technical debt. We have our application in .NET Framework that is on the extended support from Microsoft. However, from what we project in future, there may be a time where they will stop supporting. So we are putting our efforts toward, okay, let's get ahead of the race before it's a deadline that comes in and we have to derail or cancel all our projects and put all our forces towards resolving this technical debt. If you guys are dealing with software developers in any form or fashion, you will need to know that there will be technical debt, and you would need to set aside 10 to 15% initially, but as you keep growing, it might end up at 20 to 25% of your annual budget should go towards, let's make sure we resolve our technical debt. Because things change too fast. There are security reasons to update. There are features that are not available in the older versions that could be available in new versions. And then after .NET Core migration, there are a few things that we have mentioned that are internally makes more sense, but you can say those are the features that we have for each of our product. So let's take an example of Maxion. We put around 97 hours towards that. Now, what we can do is 97 times our average hourly burn of a developer, and that will give us an exact number saying, okay, we spent $10,000 on Maxion. Are we making money on that? We can run this annually and say, okay, we spent $100,000 on Maxion, but we are collecting only $10,000 from that feature. Is it still viable to continue it? In some aspects, it might be yes, because having that feature allows us to sell more. So we had to make certain decisions in past. Then we have a breakdown on, okay, this was the total hours of work. What's the breakdown? What's percentage of each of those things? Everyone likes charts and management, so we try to put charts. Here is another example, because graphical view makes it very easy for people to understand. So we always try to do that. And as you can see, that's the same number. Those tables are converted into graphs, and it talks about, okay, what it is. So here are all our modules or features that we have, or technical debt in this scenario. And in each of those bar charts, we are saying, okay, blue means code review. We spend X number in code review for .NET Core migration. Majority of time was spent on development, and then a little bit on testing as well, because you want to make sure the system works fine. Here is a bit different representation where we are looking towards, it's a bug, story, or other activity. Any questions?
earlier, but
Yes.
So this fundamentally allows you to understand where time is being spent.
Correct. So let's say if you are a one-man show, in that scenario, why is it important for me to track my time? Let's say if you are spending 5 hours a week invoicing things out, why not automate that and gain back your 5 hours? Or maybe let's get something in place where it can reduce your 5 hours to maybe 2 hours, because that's getting you better return on investment. Let's say, let's put a number to your hour. If you're charging $100, if you're making $100 per hour, then let's say 5 hours, that's $500. Can you invest in a tool, let's say that costs you $50, and you're gaining back $450 in that scenario? So those are decisions that will help you with the data that you collect. Yes.
So how do you, obviously that's a pretty straightforward math equation,
Mhm.
500 versus $50.
Yes.
But how do you evaluate whether or not something, if it doesn't necessarily have like that clear of a cut thing, you're like, all right, might cost me $50 a month, but I don't know exactly how much time I'm spending there, like.
Mhm.
What would be kind of like your overall process for
So
deciding whether it's worth it or not to actually track it down?
yeah, so a recent example, we had gone through an acquisition recently. So in the company that we acquired, they were not really doing a time tracking. And then we started asking all the questions, well, what are you working on? How much time do you spend? And one of the things that they mentioned was, we have to deal with so many things that we are not able to complete some of the projects that we wanted to do. That's the reason we have a bigger technical debt. So now we have put our system in their place by saying, okay, let's start tracking time. Sometimes the first thing you need to do is, what are you working on? Let's track your time first. Let's categorize that. And then start working towards, okay, does this automation make sense? Sometimes it might be more expensive to get a tool, but it might be still worthwhile, because let's say if you hire someone to do that job, you might be paying much more than $100 or $200 subscription that you get. So I think those are some of the try and error that you have to do. Any other questions?
What's the best way to like collect and use this type of data? You showed us Google Analytics before, this one showed us the ropes.
Yes. So this is coming from Jira. We use a ticketing system internally where, and I can try to show you an example of what we actually do. And you guys really don't need Jira. You can do this in Excel.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of Excel. That's one of the best powerful tool out there.
Or even starting, you can write it down in your notebook like you did week 1, where you said, this is how much time I spent on this thing.
Still, you would need to digitize that, because
We're talking starting point. If you're
Oh,
like,
yes,
never
I agree.
document- Or just document it in any way to start with, is my suggestion.
Yep. No, start somewhere. So, all right. So here's an example of, we are in Jira. This is the ticket number where we are talking about Providence Parking SSO setup. There was some bug that our support team reported. So in this scenario, what we would do, once a dev starts working on it, we'll say log time. And then the day started, they worked on it, and then they would know, okay, I spent 5 hours on this particular task. They would say 5 hours, start and end time, and then a bit of a description, what I worked on, select the activity, what they worked on, and then click on save. So at the end of the day, at the end of the month, I can generate a report, and that says, okay, here is actual breakdown of what all of my dev team worked on.
Very well defined process.
We are still improvising, but yes, that's always a process that you have to go through. Never have the status quo of, okay, this is how we're going to work. You got to shake things up.
So you're saying it's not like you can solve it all in one moment, where that's.
Oh, no, that never happens.
This is not how it started.
Oh, no, we had a very rough path, and we had gone through several iterations, and then we ended up here. It's not something that, okay, day 1, we started this. No, we never collected data. Then we thought, okay, we don't know what we are working on. Then we said, okay, let's start collecting data. When you implement a change, if you already have a staff, you're going to have a lot of resistance, because anyone's guess, what would be their first point of resistance? Or what would waste my time? You don't trust me. Why are you tracking me? So those are some.
We've done this before.
Yes. And still being in the IT company, we deal with this. Apparently, I had that conversation with some of my team members yesterday, where they were complaining about why there is so much security in place. And I was like, okay, if we get sued for 10 million, who's going to contribute to that? And no one argued after that.
So we don't want to be sued for $10 million.
They really didn't want it to. So
Making sure, right?
Maybe version of the song?
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
yes. So here is a good example. Initially, DevTask 4077 was estimated to be completed in 18 hours, but it took 47 hours to get completed. So that's 261% extra time that we spent. Then we started investigating into what was the problem. In most cases, it is underestimation, but then you start finding patterns that there might be a developer who is working slow. And then at that point, we determine, are we giving them a more complex task than they can handle? Or is there something ongoing in their personal life that is affecting work? Or is it something that they're not really interested in working with you? So, and then we take appropriate actions, we talk with them and try to see what needs to be done.
Can I share a quick resistance story?
Sure.
I think it would probably help the class ready. Does anybody use like Asana or Monday or anything to track everything?
I track everything.
I mean, not everything, but you know, like when I talked with Paul, he challenged me, and it felt like challenge too. He challenged me to like write out my process. Probably starting with these, you see, don't throw nothing at me, but she's like, everyone, if you got like some more stuff on here, like Paul was like my name's Paul, and so when we talked, he was like, hey, you got a lot of stuff right down, no. And I was like, my process is like, as a solopreneur, that's what I do. And that's kind of my flow. I was sharing, I was like, hey, I'm following this person. He's like, Monica, I got all of it, that's cool. He said, but we still need everything broken down. So the way that he broke through to me, he was like, hey, think about whether or not, if you were passing this off to a VA, and I was like, does the program cover VA? He was like, oh, so, but you still need to do. So that's how I started to create my process, and what I realized, yes, it's all in my head, but by getting everything out of my head and starting, I have 3 boards up, and I really probably need my 4th board. Because I realized there's a process to the process, and as I wrote things down, what I saw was, hey, this is some more revenue. Because I had never really taken everything in my head and got it out on paper, I could see where I'm missing out on even generating revenue as a solopreneur. And I get it, it's different, because I'm like, well, everybody paying for it, like, so, look, you know, like, still, why am I doing it? One thing about me, I'm gonna do it, I might ask you some questions to push back, but I'm going to do it because it's just a challenge for me. When I got it all done, I was like, well, I know, now I'm gonna process, like, when I say I'm processing everything, I'm processing everything now, because it opens up revenue, but it also shows where I have some gaps, where I need to break it down more, not just for me, but if I don't have it fully broken down, what I'm starting to wonder is, did I leave out a step for somebody, because I can do it so quickly, it doesn't mean that my client can, and I'm mad about something that's small, but really could be needed for them, so. And it reminded me, I always talk about Chick-fil-A's customer service, and I say, what is customer service? I mean, people think it is, it's not the customer service that's power in their brain. It's really the operations. The reason why operations work is because they got processes, so. Yeah, we're resisting people that like the first process.
That's a great story, yes. And that's documenting things out and creating a process is because the one philosophy that we have is we hire our replacements. And to do that, you need to define things You need to have it organized. You need to have a process. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
So like, we've talked a lot with the group about documenting process and like kind of going through there because we want to do all these things so we can identify problems and gaps and places where we can fix things and improve things and find their equivalent of technical debt, right?
Mhm.
Like find that stuff, but like, how do you guys prioritize what to work on now, what to work on next, like what to work on? What's a long-term thing that we can deal with in 6 months or a year? Like, what's that look like for your process?
How many of you have read 7 Habits Highly Effective People? All right. So, for the people who have read it and not read it, there are 4 quadrants. Q1,
Feel free to use the whiteboard if it helps.
I don't remember all the 4 quadrants because I only deal with Q1 and Q2. So I think the way it goes by, and I think let's use Google. They had some quadrants. Oh, there we go. That's a perfect matrix. So let's see. Okay. So that's Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. So urgent and important is what we try to prioritize on. However, Q2 is also very important part. Q3, okay. So we really work on Q1 and Q2. That could be technical debt. Right now, it's not urgent, but it's important for us to deal with. Technology decisions like moving from a desktop application to a web application. That's not urgent, but it's important because that's where the industry is going. Urgent, your customer is offline, or a feature that we said we're going to deliver is delayed. That's urgent. We need to work on that today. Let's try to resolve it. Let's get things in process. Let's communicate and take care of things. Also, one of the greatest line that I like about or as said by our CEO, Michael Bryant, he mentions about 3 C's that are very important in a company for success: communication, collaboration, and cooperation. Once you have a bigger few people working with you, those 3 C's are really very important.
Do you always define like, how do you, I like, there's clear things in there that are like, okay, this is urgent because someone's server's down, like the server's down for someone that they can access, right? That's obviously urgent. But like, how do you define things that are in more of a gray area? Or how do you, like, what are the factors that you would say are obviously time bound type stuff, but like urgent versus important? Like, what are the actual factors?
So there is new product that we are working on, and if a developer needs some input from me saying, okay, how do we do this, or what's your expectation on things, then in that scenario it's important, but then there is another developer who's working on a ticket that affects our current revenue stream. So that's urgent and important. That will take more priority over the other one where we are working on a new product. On the support operation, if there is, let's say there are 2 calls that comes in. One, we have a problem in writing up a case report. And then the other one is we have two modules to give you more context on things. Is case management is where the officers will write up a case on whatever event. And then there is a CAD module on which dispatchers are working. So you call 911, that's the software that they are working on. If someone says our CAD is offline, or we have an issue with CAD, then everyone in the office is on high alert saying, okay, we need to address that because they're allocating resources where there are emergencies. So we want to make sure that we prioritize them over the other. So it basically turns into the impact of the issue, how many people are affected, but what part of your organization is going to be affected by that problem. So that will be the priority. And sometime you might prioritize things differently, and then you revise, saying, let's say if we would have put in our .NET Core migration as urgent but not important, in that scenario, we wouldn't be working on that. And then Microsoft will come up and say, hey, congratulations, next year we won't support the framework that you're using. At that point, we got to put everything aside, lose all the new projects that we committed to, and then start working on this. Because at the end of the day, we are not Fortune 500 company. I'm assuming none of our sitting here has. We do plan to make one, but we don't have unlimited resources. So it is always, how do you best optimize your resources? And in most of the cases, the resource yourself is you.
Love it.
Yes.
So when we're looking at the table with the time estimations and everything was underestimated, I know people, just as a rule, tend to underestimate how long it'll take them to complete a task. Would you, and you said you use this to like look into issues with your developers, would you ever use this data to adjust your pricing to seeing that your like inputs are a lot higher than you expected?
So there is and if you guys deal with developers, there is a general rule of thumb. If a developer says it's going to take 100 hours, multiply it by 2 or 3. Okay. That goes in the contracting business as well, if I have heard it correctly. So for this, the purpose of this itself, this is where we are saying, okay, there would be a team lead discussing with the team, and everyone will agree, okay, this task we expect to be done in 18 hours. They committed themselves by saying, okay, we plan to do this in 18 hours. But it happens. Situation happens, things happens. When we start working on it, we find out there is a rotten wood, we need to cut it, and we need to replace the entire thing. That was not initially part of it. So yeah, but that's our usual thought is for our pricing, we have a different metrics on calculation. This is just to check the productivity of the team and their commitment towards things.
So that inflation of time was already built into your pricing, or that expectation?
Oh, yes. So the estimation is done by me and my coworker Anton, and then the developers are assigned a task, and we have our general estimate on, okay, this, if it falls under this range, then we're going to continue. Otherwise, we are going to kill the project. So
I had another question. Do most police departments use Windows? They pretty much all use Windows?
Yes.
Okay. That probably wouldn't be your first choice, right?
Yeah, we do. So that's the reason we are Microsoft shop as well. We deal with Microsoft Azure. We are a partner with them. But yeah, we have quite a bit relationship with Microsoft, and we stay with them.
Sure.
They charge a lot.
Other questions for Andy? All right, so you were talking about your data is telling a story.
Yes.
What do you mean by storytelling being found in data?
So storytelling is happens in several different ways. The first use case that we looked at it, the marketing team would say, okay, we're going to put an effort in XYZ state, and we're going to try to create X number of leads. From there, sales team would say, okay, the X number of leads that they bring in, we will try to convert into the sales. And then it trickles down to the entire process of the business. So in the scenario that we talked about, scenario one, it allows us to know how effective is our marketing team. Did we put right success metrics in place? Because that's what you need to do as well, saying, okay, if you are putting resources towards something, what it is, the success metrics of it. Let's say you did a marketing campaign for $1,000. And did you get really a good clicks out of it? Did you get any customer activity out of it? Or was it just to make Mark Zuckerberg $1,000 richer than he is? So yes.
All right, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
So back to the beginning, you said use Google Analytics
Mhm.
to help you. Kind of like take that back. How are we getting that? I heard you say there's something you
Yes.
your website. How do you do that?
Okay, so go to Google Analytics. I have already created my profile. It's a very simple and straightforward process. Here is my personal website. It doesn't have any traffic, so it's a classic example of having a web store but not marketing it out. So, so technically, you can create a new site. I have already configured it, but here, let's see, and they change UI quite a bit. But again, being in tech, I should not complain about changes.
You're still a
Sounds-
user, so you can complain about the changes as a user.
Yeah, but it's being hypocritic about things, being a lead and trying to make sure that people understand things, and still you complain about the same thing. Let's say if we can do something very quick. Let's have a yes. Test. Okay, we have a URL called anandpatel.ai. Test and create and continue. Here. And this, so I just added, I created a website. It would be a process. They have a good videos available, but I wanted to show this is the piece of code that you need to put on your website.
You just copy and paste it into there's what do you guys like
Wix.
on Wix? There's probably like a thing on there. It's like custom code and you just drop it in, or typically in the header or whatever.
You go like on the landing page and then it does it.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just like hidden code basically.
Wix might already have a direct
Probably have a
configuration.
plugin or something.
So
If you want, during your one-on-one this week, just be like, hey, I want to look into that Google Analytics thing, and we can help you look for a specific solution. Yeah.
and they might have some plugin already available,
Yeah.
so it will make things much easier for you, but
Yeah.
you would need to have a Google account, create a Google Analytics account from your Google account, and then you will start seeing all the data.
Site we got some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like WordPress has the Google Site plugin, and just sync your whatever stuff, or Squarespace has a thing where you can literally just drop it in this little box, so. It's like a copy paste.
Yeah.
But we can help you. Go through the process.
So once you set that up, you will start seeing all the data that you
Yeah.
need.
Cool.
Any other questions?
Just looked over and saw that Shamigo was drinking out of a Lysol container, and I got really concerned. No question about that, now that I realize that it's not, in fact, the actual Lysol, but I just looked at it, I was like, I think there's a straw in there. And I was really concerned for like 1 second, but yeah. Any other questions for Andy?
Question, comments, feelings, emotions.
I missed it. I haven't heard you say that in like a year.
Almost a year, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Andy does work in this building, just like Jarrett does. So you guys are welcome to harass him if you see him in the space. What? Did I
Yes.
say that out loud? Yeah. So he will be around. Don't feel like this is the only time you're ever going to get to talk to him. If you have questions, find him. Do you want to join the Tech Academy Slack channel for people to be able to reach out to you, or?
The best way would be LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm not very active on Slack.
Yeah, I was like-
apologize for that because we use Microsoft Teams
Exactly.
again. Sure.
I can also share it in the Slack if that.
Yeah, please feel free to share my LinkedIn
I'll
profile.
share it in the Slack. Yeah, that's perfect. Cool. Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome.
You got actual. Oh, look at that. Look at that
Yes.
Tech Academy check up there. Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool sign behind you for sure. I'm not in that picture. That's a bummer. That's not a bummer at all, actually, everyone. All right. Tyrone says, thanks, Andy, from the internets. So, yeah.
Welcome, everyone.
All right.
Feel
So,
free to reach out to me if you need anything.
yeah, he will be around. I guess.
Yes.
I'm gonna grab that mic.
Sure.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right.
Have a great day.